Good evening and welcome to tonight's committee meeting of the Town Promotion Committee. From the agenda, firstly, I have apologies from Councillor Ovenden, Councillor Alban and Councillor Ara. Everyone else on this committee is present. Do I have any declarations of interest? Item 2? No. And the minutes of the last meeting, so item 3, to approve the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Town Promotion Committee held on the 10th of September as a true record. Do I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Proposed, Councillor Huxley. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Moore, thank you. Straight into the next item, which is the Town Promotion update. Rebecca.
Yes, so obviously I've put the updates of current projects, and this week's been very productive. We've installed the artwork at the subway. So I've got some pictures here, because obviously it was only done this week. But unfortunately, when I went and checked on Sunday evening whether they'd done the deep clean in the subway, because as you know, the train station is lovely, except for the subway. They have done a deep clean, but they haven't painted it. So it's the artwork looks lovely, but you know, it's slightly disappointing. Although we were inspired to put it up originally because of all the runoff from the tracks and to hide that, it is a bit disappointing that we've had to sort of put the artwork up around rotten, mouldy old walls. But there are some pictures which include, so I can show you. So that's the 5 banners which we're hoping to make into banners.
Sorry.
Which we can pass around, yeah.
Who's doing the painting?
This artwork is from Dennis Smith.
The wall.
I'm trying to push for the area manager. Unfortunately, at the moment, he's not very well, so but we're hoping that they're
Give it to me.
the maintenance team.
That's great.
But it does highlight the fact that the surrounding area needs a lick of paint.
And then there is some
leisure drawing.
There is also some monochrome illustrations, which it's more difficult to see, but they tell a sort of brief history of Ramsgate going back. But it mentions that Ramsgate, there's evidence of life in this area going back millennia, not just hundreds of years. And we can reference that sort of 100 BC, but there's other sites that prove that there was life in this area around 5,000 years ago. So that's referenced, and there's also the artist that did this is a neurodiverse artist. That's how she likes to be identified. And she created an image of what a raven would look like in Anglo-Saxon times, and then has created a rock with the 7 names of Ramsgate through the ages, from Heathransgate all the way down to Ramsgate. So that's on there as well, and it says welcome to Ramsgate. We've also got the bus stop decals have been installed this week, so when people come out of the station they can see which bus stop they need to be at, which is a nice change. Expression Signs did the work for us very quickly yesterday, and they've also said that they've printed off extra decals in case they get peeled off. So that's the joy of working with a lovely local company. First bench end was installed today as well. So that's our first colour. So this is the teal one. So we've got five of those going in. And then,
That's in the high street, isn't it?
that one's in the high street, yeah. There's another 6 going off to be powder coated. So the projects are all sort of coming along. Technicians have started their installing the centrepiece today. So thankfully those lights have all arrived. We think we're going to need to build on it for next year, but we are going to be able to map out patterns with what we've got for this year. So that's looking good. And also this week we are expecting the lights for the harbour arches. So that work can get underway hopefully by the end of this month. We'd have at least started
When are
that.
they starting those?
It depends on how long it takes to do the centrepiece, because it's their new system with lots of controllers, and it's quite complicated. Thank goodness Chris Quint, one of our technicians, is on it. He's really good at the techie side of things as well as the installation.
How long is a piece of string? When do you think they'll start installing those?
Well, there'll probably be at least another 4 working days in the town centre.
Right.
The hope is that the following week
Yeah.
they may be able to start on the arches. So we'd be looking at the week before switch on, but it really does depend on anything else that comes up that's urgent. But they are, they're very keen to obviously get the lights installed on the arches. It's also when the project manager for that, because he also works, because he's a lighting engineer, he has got events and things scheduled. So, and then with the obelisk, obviously you were all there for full council, so those lights have now been measured up. Each LED has to be set at an angle, because obviously it's an unusual structure to light up. That's been done. We're just waiting now for the invoice to come in, and then we'll get a timeline on that. But as I said in the meeting, there are no guarantees about how long it's going to take to get that one.
Basically, progress is underway.
Yeah.
The other thing I've got on my list of, I'm sorry, you had said something earlier, and you might have already covered this in minutes. The Abbots Hill artwork.
Yes, so we met with Mark Norton, the tutor that we've been working with at East Kent College, and what we've agreed to do, we've got all the artwork. It's had 2 matte varnishes, so it hasn't detracted from the artwork. What we need to do is create frames around each piece, and if you know the panels along the Abbots Hill beside Mr. Bedouin's hidden treasure shop, the old Rooks building, they have curved edges, and they're not all the same size. But we're going to put frames around each piece to make it to the size.
Sorry if I stop you. There was a meeting scheduled with EKC on the 6th, which was today. Did that go ahead?
That's what.
Yeah, all right. That's, I'm just checking. Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, I should have made that clearer. And yes, so we've agreed to working with the technicians. This will be a Friday job, because we can't get into the town centre on a Friday with the cherry picker because of the market, to install the works, and then the frames will go up afterwards, because they're all going to have to be sort of specially measured. There'll probably be about sort of 60mm frames all the way around with curved corners, and they'll be painted as gold as the frame over there, to reference Pugin as well, because that was the sort of style he would have done it in. So yeah, that one's progressing as well this week. Hope is that will come in by the end of the year. Something else. Oh, the wayfinding. So the finger post in the town centre outside Lloyd's, you may have noticed one of the arms has snapped off, which we've claimed on the insurance, and that's come through. So I've emailed this week to have that a new finger arm put on, and they're going to increase the size, because actually what happened was a van reversed into it and smacked it. So if we can bring it a bit higher, then we can reduce the risk of that happening again.
Good.
So that would be all of the wayfinding things ticked off.
Yes, it's just been unfortunate that since you wrote your report, you said to me the other day, I've had to write the report, but there was just so much that was going to be happening in this last week that would need to be updated.
So it's all positive.
There are a couple of decisions from your report that need to be made, and there are a couple of things that I wanted to raise as well, which I know that you haven't got an update on particularly, but I think we might need to put down as actions. But before I give mine, does anyone else have any other questions from Rebecca's report, or any other issues? Councillor Huxley.
Your light survey request for the bandstand on the east. Nothing's happened there.
No, I have changed. Yeah, that has been ongoing for. Oh, Dean, when did we? Good 14 months, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say.
It's because it's carried forward from the previous
From
year.
last year.
So at least that long.
It's just a request to do a survey.
So we
would do a survey.
That's right, yeah. So we carried forward, we put aside some funding, I believe it was £1,200. But obviously it belongs to TDC, so we wanted permission to access for the light engineer who actually installed it, the lights originally, 12 years ago, for him to basically do a recce. And it'd be great if you could get that done, because if there are any that, in fact, I know some of them are working, we could have them on the part of Light Up Ramsgate.
Ages ago, didn't we?
So, I have chased it this week with Andrew Dockerill, because if we can just get permission or licence, whatever's quickest, quite frankly, then we can get that scheduled in.
Would it help if there was any chasing done by either the chair or the town clerk, do you think?
Yeah.
I'm just very conscious that the Eastcliff Bandstand, although this is coming up under town promotion here, this is actually a full council project, really. This isn't just town promotion, this is very much sits under both. And the fact that this has just been kicked down the line so often and for so long, I think for the actions, I think we need to ask for the chair and the town clerk to give you additional support in chasing that up. Let's put it that way. Councillor Huxley.
Well, my understanding was we want a licence, don't we, from TDC to run it from our own events. So
I believe that's the last conversation that the town clerk had, was to look at having some sort of lease.
Yeah. But given that it seems to take forever to get something out of TDC,
Is there not an initial, let's just do the survey and turn the lights on? We don't need a lease for that, do we? What we need is permission for the lights to go on.
Yeah.
So can't we insist at least on that for Christmas? I'm up for all the other stuff and really want it, but do you know what I mean? It's a case of like, why would they stop us from doing that? It's a rhetorical question. I'm sure they could think of a very good reason, but if we can get that much done, wouldn't that be helpful?
I mean, there's an issue with water in Westminster. I mean, when it rains, there's water in the sort of basement area, so that needs to be sorted out as well, really, before you have the electrics. Oh, I don't know, but
Well, when we went in, and it was good 14 months ago.
Yes.
With Paul Burks, the light engineer, who originally was involved in the installation. Councillor Green is also aware of this project. We did switch them on, and some of them were working and switching colours as well. So we know that, you know, there's probably little that's happened in that short period. So, but they do need to be switched on, and of course it is TDC's, it will be their electric supply. So I think Andrew will answer, it's just he has a lot on his desk.
Yeah, I know, and I know it's a team at TDC that have for a long time been badly understaffed, and I know that you know this isn't top of their agenda, understandably, but it is higher on our agenda than it is on theirs. So,
And it fits with what we want to do for this.
totally,
this year.
exactly. So,
It'll be a free edition, really.
And I propose that we ask the town clerk and all the chair to write to Andrea or to Andrea, or both. And the chief executive of TDC and the leader, you know, just get it done, come on. So, you know, just say, yes, you can do a survey, you can do it whenever. It's not
I've
rocket
got it.
science really, is it?
have we got that down as an action that Rebecca to liaise with
Chair and town.
the chair and the town clerk to
Write a letter.
try and
I know that.
pursue this?
Thinking, I appreciate that. If it's a letter, obviously, I mean, I can sign it on behalf of the town council and the rest of it. But I mean, if the chair was able to have a word, it would be even better. But whether he can at the moment, I'm not sure.
Sorry, Anne-Marie, I actually am very slight of hard of hearing, and I got most of what you said.
We're just debating as to who can action this. Don't worry, I will explain this later.
Okay, right. But I think the agreement is that we need to be a bit more proactive in trying to pursue this. Does that sound fair to everyone else? Councillor Shaw.
Just observe happening.
Yes, but that's no problem. We're talking about the bandstand that had £150,000 of lottery funding at that place, and the lights did work, music system did work, but somehow it sort of fell out of.
Unfortunately, as far as I can gather, and others may correct me a little bit on this, but it was being run by the East Cliff community group that existed at that time. When the community group themselves folded, then it started to fall into disrepair, and we have literally spent the last 3 years trying to get a licence.
Did you ever see the postcard of when it was working? It looked fantastic, didn't it?
Yeah, I know.
It's actually 20
And
years ago.
But as the ward councillors, we've been pursuing this since we were elected in 2019, and I think I would have to turn to Dean for the date, and he probably doesn't know it off the top of his head unless he's a miracle, which he is. Which he is. But at full council, I can tell you when it was. It was 2023, at the beginning of the year, before May, when we agreed that as a council we would pursue taking on the either the ownership or a full lease of the bandstand. And we had already been negotiating for a couple of years before that around whether or not we could get a cap transfer. We've been looking at all different options, as I say, including a cap transfer. That fell through, and so that's when we accepted. And I remember it was the council meeting before. It was the last council meeting of that 4-year period. So it would have been March, April.
Because all the light columns are blown with the concrete, with the metal rods in there, blown with the light columns.
Yeah. So it's been ongoing for way too long, and we just need to up it a bit.
I don't think we want to take it, I think we decided to use a licence, Chair.
At the time, we were looking about buying it or taking it on, but it's moved on since then, and that is no longer an option. Sorry, I appreciate that. But it was just really, I was trying to get the timescales in my head. So, however it is, there liaise with the chair and the town clerk in pursuing this, continuing to pursue this a little bit more proactively or forcefully.
Yeah.
Right, thank you, because I did have, that was one of the ones on my list, so that's got that one off. Anything else?
So, really, it's just referring to the recommendations, so.
Right, before you do that then, pocket park licences is another one that is the same as the bandstand one. Can we have the same action? Can we have the same action, please?
Same email to
Yeah.
Andrea Plant, etc. Seriously, copy in Chief Executive and the leader and say we want some action on this, please.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for 4 years, 5 years.
We are doing the work without the licence cover.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not good enough.
Anyway.
May I suggest that we do it in 2 separate emails?
Absolutely, definitely, I completely agree. Yeah, totally. Yes. The footfall counters is not decision required. I wanted to ask you, what would the cost be for town promotion?
For footfall counters, to be honest, we've deferred that because of this new product, it is a product that Thanet District Council have signed up for, which on paper sounds excellent.
Yeah, I think it is. Is there any?
There are no figures on that. They haven't released any figures, whereas we did know a little bit more about the place informatics.
Are they going to charge us? Was it?
No, not at this stage. We should be able to request, as long as we don't, email them daily on footfall figures. But what this will give them access to, they can choose 20 key sites across Thanet, and those will be the ones that are highlighted in terms of footfall. They get all of this from the data from our phones. As soon as they are signed up, it's bound by legal terms, so that I think only 2 of the members of Thanet Tourism will be signed up to be able to log into this and access the data. But once they're actually signed up, they will have access to data going back 5 years already, instantly. So, which will be useful for us in lots of ways, and obviously for people asking for grants, particularly Arts Council of England grants, and lots of other ones where that question comes up more and more often. So we'll be able to hopefully support organisations in our community that need that information. We could look at physical counters, but most of them you have to have something opposite. So if you fit like a laser beam, you've got to have one 3 to 5 metres opposite. And for example, along here, that would be very difficult to achieve because there's nothing opposite that we could fix it to. So it's not something we've discounted. We just want to see how good this data is for us before we look at investing in physical counters for us.
Right, thank you. Any questions on that?
So it can't help the type of person who visits the VIC.
Well, for example, we could have some, as you walk into the Custom House, we could have 2 in the doorways. And that
means the person who actually clicks on the counter clicks them.
I think it depends on what data you have input in on your phone. So they might be able to tell from mine that I'm female between age 50 and 60 or whatever because of things I've signed up for, or and they can give geographical location as well, I believe. So this insight thing will scarily have a lot of information about who's visiting our town.
I was just going to say, Jane, is that not a bit Big Brother? Is that allowed under GDPR?
No, so that's why they have such limited amount of people that can actually access it. So what we'll get is data in terms of numbers, and we may be able to specially request something if we were doing a specific project on how many people, I don't know, are coming from Essex, because we might want to do a sort of promotion in Essex.
I'd just add, Rebecca did tell me the other day that we had hoped to try and get Dean to be able to access it, but apparently only 2 people in the entirety of TDC are allowed to access it, so we don't stand a chance of having anyone here accessing it. So we are dependent on them, and that is the high level of GDPR that applies to it. Okay, so the decisions required under the recommendations. Rebecca, would you like to choose which one you want to go first?
So we'll do them in order. So Operation Dynamo next year will be the 85th anniversary of that commemorative event. It's probably the last big one they do, because they tend to stop. 90 is potentially the last big one they'll do. And the reason they do that is because there generally is nobody around from that time. So 90 is often the year that
Everyone
the
dies.
cut-off. Everyone has died.
Doesn't mean we can't remember it all, does it?
Well, no, we're sitting here, we've got poppies on for wars that happened.
My father-in-law came into Ramsgate off Dunkirk beaches,
And my granddad did.
granddad.
Yeah.
but he was a Yorkshireman.
So it must have been as alien to him then as.
I think he was in the artillery.
Absolutely. Different language again.
They got a pot of tea and a sandwich and put on the next train out.
Well, you know, the tunnels are collecting stories, so they want to hear oral accounts. So they would like to know about
He's
that.
been dead for years.
Are they?
Yes,
Because-
and they'd love to hear your.
Because I got my grandfather's handwritten memoirs on that, and if I can find the right pages, I've got his evacuation. He didn't come out of Dunkirk; he came out of the next beach down, but he came back in.
Yeah, no, they're very interested, because, and for this event, we're working with Ramsgate Tunnels.
When do they need it by?
The sooner the better.
Okay.
Rosa Banks lived in Ramsgate. That time she wasn't born then. But her mother came, they lived here, and she was down on the port doing sandwiches.
Yeah. So
So I'll contact Ros and tell her that they need something about it.
they really do want these sort of almost first-hand.
Because
that
that
sort
sort
of
of stuff gets lost. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you get
Yeah.
And are they just back to before they landed? So the actual the retreat as well, or just the landing here?
So they're arriving. It will start with.
No, sorry, the tunnels memoirs.
We're looking for any really,
Okay.
but specifically Operation Dynamo.
Right. In that case, I've let it go a little bit off topic there. So let's just, what are we asking for? Decision required on Operation Dynamo, which is approving your continued support of Operation Dynamo event 2025 being the main RTC funded event for next year. So that's one of the, that will be the main event coming out of the council events budget.
Yes, it's kind of obviously a good week to do it, because it's leading into, it's the month where we have quite a few bank holidays. There's,
Which particular tranche of money is, like tranche of events money is coming out of?
Yeah, the budget, the TP budget proposals for next year have 2 event funds. There is the community events fund, which is the grants for the grants committee for the community, and then there is the second events fund, which is the one for the events that Rebecca runs as Ramsgate Town Council. So it's out of that; it'll be out of that fund, and then there's the civic events fund, which is separate from TP. So it'll be that one that is intended to come out of.
so
I don't think those figures are out yet. I mean, they've gone through F&GP.
Okay.
I don't think they're out at full council yet, though. And I can't remember what figure we put in it. What do we put in for the? I know what the community fund is, but I can't remember.
30 or 45?
I've given you more money this year, I know that.
We've got 26 there for new and council events, but that's over a variety of different events that we're doing throughout the year.
Yeah.
Right, so, yeah, so it's 26 that's about, so that there is some money already allocated out of the, RTC Events Fund. But what is left for unscheduled events at the moment, of which this is not specified in here, is 26,000. I think so you've got, coming out of the events fund, on top of that are the Christmas summer lights, whatever that looks like in 2025. A New Year event to be decided, which, in reality, there's 10,000 set aside for that. But if the Lumiere takes off in 2025, that will supersede that, and we may not need that money. That money can go back in for other events, so it will, we know that there will be that potential movement. And then Ramsgate Day, 5,000, and then 26 for the rest. Okay. So it should work. I'm so glad you got shown that. Is that okay? I'm happy to answer any questions.
That's fine, Richard.
And we've got no idea really what Operation Dynamo will be costing, but we know that that's where the budgets are. So we're okay with that, are we? Are we going to agree that?
Yes, thank you.
Support that? Yeah? Do I need a proposer and seconder? I'll propose it. Councillor Huxley can second it. Okay. Oh, well, thank you.
I should add that there will probably be around 65 little ships here. So we have the chair of the Association of Little Ships lives in Ramsgate, and his boat, Clarendon, is just over. We've got an awful lot of support already for this. But it is running in correlation with, correlation with Dunkirk. So they've got their events, so the boats will come here. The Queen Mary paddle steamer will be here on the 16th. Then all the boats will start to arrive over that weekend, mainly on the 17th. There'll be a civic ceremony on the Sunday. And a few celebrations through the 3 days, from Friday, Saturday, and Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then they'll be waved off, which we hope to get a crowd, as we managed when the new RNLI boat came in.
We did get a crowd on there, didn't we?
Yeah.
The lifeboat.
That's it. And then they will be returning the following weekend, I think on the Sunday. So they'll come back from Dunkirk. A lot of them will. Some of them will have to just go straight back to wherever they're normally moored. And then we'll hopefully try and have a welcome for when they return to our shores, as we would have done 85 years ago. So,
Are we going to have a list of the little ships that are coming in?
we will, and we're hoping to work with all the schools and create some artwork all the way around the harbour. So like we did with the flags for Royal Harbour 200, and I've done a little project with the schools on the little ships before, and where they had a picture of each boat, and they drew it and painted it, and we laminated them. So we'll do something along, so it'd be like bunting going all the way around the harbour of all the little boats.
Because it would be, was it the 25th anniversary when I was in TIC? And we had, there was a list, I think I have a list in my loft somewhere, but...
Yeah, I mean, we can get the list. They have them all online. So, and it was really good. The children learnt a lot from it. Apparently, so did the teachers.
It's an amazing.
We all did, but I did. Obviously.
Okay, Councillor Huxley, you wanted.
Yeah, a bit obvious, but what publicity are you doing, or the town council doing?
Well, this will be pretty huge event and there are lots of organisations involved. So, you know, we hope that with the television will do anything from, you know, a blog post to Meridian and South East, BBC South East. So, okay.
Right, so the next one was the approving further investigation of the roll ramp system and reporting back to council with cost and benefit to community members.
So this is around accessibility. You know, we've talked about this, it's voted in, I think, in full council around the stickers, working with Mike, who did the wonderful sound installation downstairs, and Councillor Austin. They've created stickers so that people that have mobility issues can see instantly what facilities are accessible to them in restaurants. So the toilets are a good example. And this is, on the back of that, it's looking at how we can make venues for events more accessible. We do have a small amount of budget in the events equipment. I think it's less than £1,000, but we do have that to perhaps help get some matched funding. I've spoken to Councillor Shonk with his KCC hat on about this recently.
I'm going to KCC in there tomorrow. I've mentioned all this. I don't promise nothing to anybody until you actually get, I've got X amount of money to spend. Ramsgate, it's only your money coming back.
So I pinned Rebecca down a little bit and she squirmed a lot, but I pinned her down to give me what she thought might be the total cost of it, and I got her down as far as between 4,000 and 6,000. And so what that will require is a combination, if possible, of some grant funding if Councillor Shonk is able to obtain it, or some environment and movement of monies between what is left out of various bits within the bigger TP budget. So do you know where you're looking at getting the money from? I mean, I know there is money in the equipment fund, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because this has come up quite new recently, hasn't it? This, so
Yes, it's something that event organisers have asked about. This would be the great thing about the roller ramp, which is this.
No, I just want to know where the money's coming from. I'll go pin you down again.
And this is why I think December, when we have a meeting to look at environments, that we'll be able to really hone in. But there will be some, hopefully, there will be some still, even with the environment that's happened from the town promotion events budget, there will be £1,000 or £2,000 left in that budget at least.
So if I can just say, from my perspective, I believe there is the money within town promotion to fund this, although obviously I'd like that eased with any grant that Councillor Shonk is able to obtain. Rebecca, Dean and I are going to be meeting in about 4 weeks' time to look at the end of year budget. Because as soon as we get to this stage, we want to look at wiring around within TP any excess monies that we might be able or need to spend. So, and Simon's looking a bit wide-eyed back because he's thinking, what have I got in my budget? So that's what Rebecca's just referring to. But I have been, liaising with Dean recently, and I think we've got the money we've got enough within TP, but certainly anything that we can get in additional grant money is will help to ensure that. So please, even though I'm saying that, Councillor Shonk, don't think you're off the hook. So I think if I can just say, the question here is approving further investigation and reporting back to council with costs and benefit to the community. I think that's we're not asking for any money around this stage, but just to be aware that when we do come to the January meeting, we will be looking more closely at how that is going to be funded, and we will have more detail of costs. So is everyone happy with that? Yeah, so that's a go ahead. Do you want me to get us, can I have a proposal in a second? I'll propose it. We'll let Pat second this one. Everyone agree? Thank you. So it is, you're going to carry that on. The last one is on here, is approving Rebecca reporting to the council with further information and costs for the proposed extension of the existing decorative light installation in York and York Street and a small section of Queen Street. Would you like to explain that? Because I know what you mean, but...
Yeah. So we're all aware of the Levelling Up Fund and Future High Street Fund projects that include improving the road surfaces to encourage people from the harbour leading up to the town centre. And in their proposals, they specify Harbour Street and York Street as the two roads that they want people to enter the town from. And obviously at the moment, we've got the lights in Harbour Street, and it has been approved that we can remove the old infrastructure from York Street along with Queen and King Street. Now that we've almost finished the town centre lights, we have got around, I believe it's around 100 metres left of festoon cables, maybe slightly less, but we have got at least 15 boxes of the big bulbs, which would mean we have enough big bulbs and would need only slightly more festoons to install along York Street and that little bit of Queen Street where Union Cafe up to Changes Day Spa basically is currently. So that would kind of feel like it's sort of finished off the town centre, and it corresponds with the sort of vision that they've got for how these improvements to the road will help encourage people up into the town centre. And of course it works nicely with our lighting up Ramsgate projects. I haven't pushed for any quotes from the electrical company that we usually use, and we'd like to continue using. It would need entire infrastructure changes. We'd need new catenary, which is the marine reinforced steel that holds the lights. We would need to stress test. We would need to upgrade the separate electrics that we have for the old system that are still in situ, but they would all need replacing. So it wouldn't be a cheap project in comparison to the one we've just done. I guesstimate that it would probably come to about £10,000, but that is a guess, and I'm not that good at guessing when it comes to money.
Okay, so at the moment, all we're looking for is to approve you to keep on doing some research, and because the next town promotion will not be until the new year, if there is any action or any agreement required, then it will go to the next full council.
That's correct.
Got it. Proposer? Seconder? Go on then, I'll do that one.
There you go.
In favour, yes. Right.
And the only other thing I was going to say is that the palms are scheduled to be removed from the arches. As you know, that then some of them aren't faring very well. That's going to happen next week. So November is the week, the month of action.
Yeah.
Forever, as far as I'm concerned.
And they will be planted with the help of the Thanet District Council. They will be planted in the locations, as you can see.
In the bed squares.
In the bed squares, yes. So they'll be central. So you've got the Pfizer hands molecules, and they will be in line with those. So, and they'll be in freeze.
Can't believe we agreed this nearly a year ago. It's just how long it's taken. But I do have one other thing here, I'm just trying to find it, what page of the welcome banners on here? I'm just trying to find it now.
So yeah, welcome banners, they're on
Oh, yeah.
3.
Oh, right, yes, yeah, I remember. Okay, so on the other capital projects, so there is money in this year's budget that has been set as, correct, stop me if I go off here. There is money in this year's budget for the welcome banners. They're probably not going to be finalised by the end of this financial year. And so we will be almost certainly, when we do our environments meeting, be asking for that money to be forward into next year's budget, just so that that project can be finished off. It's a fairly small amount that's left to be done, isn't it? But there will be, rather than lose that money, we can carry it forward into next year just to finish that particular project off. So I think that's more for information than us needing to make a decision on it, but just so that you know, I had that down as my last thing because it was down there with money. Any questions on that? Is everyone okay with that? I will ask. So, yeah. Okay, in that case, nothing else? I go to Simon.
Thank you, Chair. I won't go through this in great detail, but a lot of what we're doing at the moment, the project, is really just kind of get us into good shape for next year during this sort of quieter season. So a big focus on our website, pages, and digital estate at the moment. You've got some prints with it there. It's a bit hard to see some of the detail on some of these. So I do recommend looking at the digital versions that were attached. And I can also share, in fact, our web editor or designer has already put them together, so I can share a working live version of it, should people want to see it kind of as I go with it for real. So I do recommend looking at that, but happy to answer any questions on those. Promotion continues at pace with leaflets. We've actually had to slow down the distribution because they're flying off the shelves, and also to flag, as well as existing leaflets, we are looking at another 3 experience style leaflets that will also complement into the next season. Another thing we're sort of trying to sort out in terms of getting us in good shape for the future is licensing and some of the issues that have come up with TDC and small scale operators in particular. I will not go into the very great detail of that. That is covered in Appendix 2, but we are progressing that with TDC and Chasing Estates and Andrea Plant there, and the Town Clerk is helping us to do that. Other news on the TDC side as well, worth flagging that the beach hut proposal has now moved forward because TDC have taken ownership of it themselves. It puts it back into use, in community use at that, which we're pleased about, and particularly with the Thanet Coast project because we've been promoting that via Active Ramsgate specifically. And the other big thing we're sort of looking forward to now is Active Ramsgate Week next week. We're confirming that as being in the May half term again, because we think that worked quite well in terms of people being available for it, getting ahead of the season, it producing more materials to continue promotion through the season. And that's about it in a nutshell, but I'm happy to answer any.
Just to say, that's the week after the Operation Diamond.
Yes, so
Yeah,
So we'll have a good run of events.
we will, with bank holidays and stuff. It should be a nice kick.
I will just add, this licensing issue has come up relatively recently and has really put a spanner in a lot of works. Our next item on the agenda is about approving working group minutes. The decision of the working group for Active Ramsgate was that Simon would write to Andrea regarding 4 separate issues that we have outstanding with estates. after the meeting, I actually changed that and said that I didn't think that was probably the best way forward. Liaise with the town clerk, and the town clerk is, when Simon says we're supported by the town clerk, is actually trying to arrange some kind of either Zoom or face-to-face meeting with Andrea direct. I just looked at that and I thought, that's going to be a horribly long email. It's not going to work. This isn't the easiest way forward. And so just to say, as chair, I overrode the decisions of the working group, but in liaison with Simon, Rebecca and the town clerk, yes.
Can we and Simon and Rebecca and the town clerk ask Andrea Clark for regular meetings, regular online meetings, so every 3 months or whatever, so that you can push for these things rather than sending emails instead?
I mean, I think we could definitely ask. I think it depends what happens in that first conversation, really.
Yeah, because the town clerk has had a meeting with Andrea not that long ago, and that was quite positive, wasn't it? I don't know if that was online.
It's just that we ended up with 4 different things that you know, we were kind of outstanding. So anyway, I just really wanted to say that, you know, if you've looked at the minutes of the working group, then you will go, well, hang on a minute, what Simon's just said doesn't quite tally with what was the decisions. That's because I looked at it and went, oh, do you know, that's not going to work. And
push for that, because I think, you know, have a set, I find that's quite a good way of doing it, so you're not 6 months later thinking, oh, you know, nothing's happened again. So you can keep going back to saying what is happening about it. So we've got a long list of stuff.
We do also have TDC representation at the working group, as you know, and we have invited officers, as you know, to push them along. But we are escalating up for all the reasons that you know. But yeah, I think it's a good method to keep the pressure on.
Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, none of us are getting any younger, speaking. I think it's the end of this term. I think that something actually happened.
Just feel like
the bandstand. You know, before I go completely mad.
Yes.
And I think with this one as well, I mean, it's an odd one, because in some ways, what we want out of it isn't going to make, you won't see something new out of it, but what it will is secure the licensing and the healthiness of the active Ramsgate portfolio, because it has the potential to close down operators.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's important.
Well, and the community and the knock-on effect to the local economy and et cetera, which we've raised with TDC.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Right. Sorry, I interrupted that because I just felt that it was important that we explained that. So, does anyone have any questions for Simon?
Don't labour the point, Chair, but a regular meeting with the estates, with Andrea, or whoever she's not there, then every 3 months, what about that?
Well, it also,
We do that in licensing at TDC.
well, it also seems from previous discussions as well that there are a few things to move on across, not just active Ramsgate, but other town centre things.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So,
Maybe with that in mind, if Andrea and the town clerk would be more appropriate, and we have a list, not a long list, but a list, so that it's just maybe the 2 of them discussing it might be.
which they have done before.
this may be overcomplicating things, but isn't there also a new committee on assets for Ramsgate,
Yes.
Is there?
which,
The RTC, new RTC committee.
That's true, yeah. We'll go through
Yes,
that.
so that could come under there. I think what we have to do is, I completely agree with Councillor Huxley, but I think first we have to get a response from Andrea Estates to the email that you've already written, and that was only a week or so ago, wasn't it? A couple of weeks ago. So it's still relatively early yet, and see what comes out of that in the first meeting. But yes,
Legally,
more liaison.
some days, you should get an answer within 10
We
working
do
days.
need
where,
better
If you
liaison.
don't get an answer in 10 working days as a councillor, we don't complain.
this is where, because there have been other issues outside of this one,
Yeah.
that I know the town clerk is already pushing on Andrea.
Yeah.
she has offered to chase it up, so I will nudge her on that.
Yeah. So if that's okay, then the next item on the agenda is to approve the working group minutes, or to receive and note the minutes, actually, of the Town Enhancement Working Group and the Active Ramsgate Working Group meetings from September and October respectively. Are we happy to do that? Can I have a proposer and a seconder to note those?
Propose.
And I'll second. Agreed?
Okay.
Okay, so the date of the next meeting of the Town Promotion Committee is Wednesday, the 5th of February. Just to note that there are some actions that may be coming up in between time, which we have discussed, that are about mostly budget stuff and the agreements that we've done here that may well go to full council. And at 19:55, the meeting is now closed. That's less.